Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Miss Ruth.
Good evening.
Victoria.
Good evening.
And viewers out there in radio and TV land. How's everybody doing tonight? This is our favorite place to be, and we welcome you to Authors Up, a forum for authors by authors. Got some interesting things for you tonight. Going to share a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, which is always fun. And we're just glad to be here this evening. And I am going to let our my co-host, my compadres, the three amigos, the other two amigos, are going to greet you this evening. What do you have to say to the folks, Miss Ruth?
Oh, well, we're happy to be here and we're happy to have you join us. So thank you. We wouldn't be a show without you.
There you go.
Amen.
You, Queen.
She said it all, but a good evening, Bronze Girls. I missed you all week long and just glad to be here. And hello to everybody who is listening and watching. We do appreciate you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Miss Victoria, I must say that you look very, very beautiful in your blue tonight. Having a party? Are you having a party?
No, I just got up this morning with the church with my girlfriend and wonderful word. Wonderful word. Heard what I needed to hear. Lord have mercy. That's it. That's all. You know.
Beautiful. Love the blue. Love the blue. Well, we're going to get started like we usually do on Sunday evenings right here at 7 p.m. And Victoria, since I was talking about you and your pretty blue, why don't you go on and start with the week in review tonight?
All right. My week in review was I'm gonna say it was a good week. You know, I was supposed to, go to my mom. So I was still supposed to be in Indiana again, but that's fine. I was a little disappointed, but knowing the reasons why, to take care of myself. And so I did that this week. I ended up taking off Monday to give myself an extra day off and rested myself. And it was really needed. I must say my pain is much better because I took care of myself and got off my feet and, did what I needed to do. And today really was, I must say, as compared to last Sunday, I'm so much better. And I just thank God for his healing, for his mercy and his grace, and keeping me as always. And, I just appreciate it. Thank you, Nikayetta. Nikayetta says, that's Queen Victoria. Thank you so much. But I am better, and just we moving along in this summer. I'm telling you, oh my goodness, I just can't believe we're now at the end of July and getting ready to go into August. So you know what happens in August? The birthday queen, the birthday queen, Queen Victoria has a birthday.
Yeah. Well, I know you will be sure to give us little tidbits along the way, so
yes, ma'am.
So that we can do something fun on your birthday.
That's it. That is all. Well, what about you, Ruth? How was your week?
Oh, it was a really good week.
Good.
So we spoke about AI last week. I wanted to share there was a lawsuit that was brought up against Anthropic for copyright infringement. Now, I was not included in this lawsuit, but the judge ruled that the company who, like Meta, had stated, hey, this, us using this pirated information is okay because of the Fair Use Act. They said, no, that's not true. So basically, they told the company that no, it wasn't. And they told the authors that everybody who had been pirated from those sites, which included LibGen, which is the one that my book is on, that all these authors would be included in the ruling. I don't know what that means for me, but that is good news for the authors because that means that they can get compensated for, basically training AI and not being paid. So it was really good to see that, knowing that, even in this day and age, people are still looking out and doing for what's right. So yeah, so I was happy to see that, and I wanted to offer that, follow up.
That's good. I hope it means something good for you too.
I hope so too, because that would be nice.
Right,
and it's
right.
funny because I read an article today. It was so I am on Substack, and Dave Barry. I don't know if you guys have read him. He's been around for a while now. He wrote his own little article about his mishap with AI, because according to AI, he was and had been dead since November, and nobody told him. He found out he was dead by reading it on Google. So of course, he reached out and said, "Hey, I'm not dead. Please fix this." And they changed it because there's another Dave Barry out there who's more, he does more volunteer work. And he was like, okay, I'm still not dead. And I'm also not this guy now. And so they responded with, well, do you just want to chat with us? And it just kept going through. And they're like, so it didn't understand that he wasn't dead. And so they ended up changing it. And then a week later, he's dead again and has been dead since 2016. So he said, what can we learn from my experience? We can learn that although artificial intelligence is an awesomely powerful tool that, according to experts, is going to completely transform human existence, it's not very bright.
Not very bright is an understatement.
That is an understatement. I'm like, so I thought that was fitting to share. 'Cause, like I said, after our conversations about AI, it is
exactly.
It is something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did want to share one other piece. I had shared with you guys that I was changing the model of my company. So I'm not publishing per se now, but I am teaching authors how to self-publish.
Oh, okay.
And I had scheduled my first class per se. An author had, scheduled me to actually come to her house, so she's local, to train her. And she invited like 3 other authors. So we were sitting there, we were talking, and I had brought copies of my book, and we were talking about the whole process, but I showed them a copy of my book, When Love is Angry. And it was like 2 of the authors were like, oh my gosh, we have family members who are bipolar. And the third one,
wow,
she was cute. She was just like, well, I'm in psychology. Can I read your book? I'm like, you can have it. We as authors end up giving away more copies than we sell. But
that is true.
Yes. So it was just, it was amazing. First, on the level of being able to share my knowledge, but secondly, just knowing that, this was an opportunity, that it was ordained, that I got to share, my story with them. And they were, just as grateful. They were like, I can't believe, to see someone who has this, is successful, is doing what they love, really gives me hope.
Oh, that is amazing.
That has got to be one of the most fulfilling things.
Yes, it is. I know it is.
So good. You can really, when you can go out and do the thing that brings you joy.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
talking one day, and I don't want to get off topic too much, but we were talking one day about the fact that this in these days and times, uh, there's so many choices. There's so many choices out there, so many career choices. And
Right.
when I was younger, back in what is it, Jurassic World times, back
Jurassic Park.
Not with the dinosaurs.
World, not the world. Park. Go ahead.
right then. But I didn't have a career choice.
Right.
I didn't feel like I had one.
Yeah.
I had, I was recently separated. I had a baby. I had bills, and
Right.
that's what I focused on. The first
Right.
person who would give me a job,
You took it. Yeah.
and it did not put me in a place of necessarily being fulfilled or enjoying it, or really, I didn't even think in terms of, am I, operating in my calling, or, I was like, do I have enough money to cover this check in the bank?
Right. Right.
So to be able to be at a place where we can,
Yeah.
one of my guests is talking about it's never too late, where
Right.
you can actually get up in the morning and enjoy the fact that you're going to do something with your day that is, just tugs at your heart and
Yes.
makes you happy is amazing.
It
I
is.
think that's great. I think that's great. I'm waiting because I know there's one more thing that you got to share. Duh.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's go. Let's go.
Drum
I got
roll.
a new toy today. I got a new toy.
She said she got a new toy. Look at you.
Look. Oh, wait. Hold on. So we're going to do this so our viewers can get a better look.
Look. Oh, so cute.
Look at that face. Yes.
Oh.
Look. Samantha's texting me right now, too, sending me more photos. So
Oh.
we're going to have to wrap this show up so I can go see.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Bet.
I think that is wonderful.
It is.
Wonderful. That doesn't make you smile every day.
Oh, my
I
gosh.
know that's right.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Look, I got blankets all over the house just because I'm cold natured anyway, but this one is going everywhere with me. So
And it looks
like
like it's very soft too.
oh, it is soft. It is warm too.
Warm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
No.
it's
Oh
nice.
my
Yeah.
goodness, she's so cute.
Yeah.
So cute. All right.
Okay, so Andrea, how was your week?
Right?
My week was fine. I had no complaints at all.
Okay.
Okay.
But other than that, I talked to my cousin, whom I haven't talked to for years. She and I are
very nice.
each my first cousin, and she had 5 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
She's got 13 grandchildren.
Woo.
Wow.
my family, on my mother's side of the family, when we would get together, when I was still in DC, and we'd get together at Thanksgiving, and everybody would take a picture of their family unit, I call it. Everybody else's looked like a class picture. There were like 8, 9 children, 17 grandchildren.
Hey, just you and Lynn, huh?
My mom, my dad, my sister.
Oh.
So it was nice to hear from her, and just to be able to chat, because like I said, I haven't talked to her for a very long time. So that was actually the pretty much the high point of my week. I worked on little books for prison ministry, and got those accomplished, and just working on some different things, and trying to do some things new, do some things different. So it was
Good.
good.
Oh, okay.
It was a good week. Yep. Yep.
Awesome.
Enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And I am going to enjoy tonight. And I hope our listeners and viewers are going to enjoy it as much as we do. You know, I love it when we have wonderful guests on and they have unique books and unique stories to tell.
Yes.
But I also like it when the three of us are together and can kind of give people a peek behind the scenes of some of the things that we do and some of the things that we end up coming up with. And tonight we wanted to share a little bit about our collaborative writing process, because it is one thing for you to have a story, Victoria, and you know exactly what you want. You won't know what you want your characters to look like and what you to be like. And the same thing with you, Ruth. I love it when I read Ruth's books and I can picture the people on the side of the highway. I can picture them in the office. And you know, I get all of that from reading her books. And I used to do something called On the Spot Productions. I did a summer program copied off of one of my friends. She used to keep her grandchildren during the summer, and she would just create the most amazing activities for them. Like she would tell them about how people would ride the rails, you know, how people would jump on the train and ride the train. So she made each of them little packs on sticks, you know, and kerchiefs, and put their little lunch in it, you know, and they took the Amtrak and rode somewhere. And I thought, man, you were really into this spending time with your grandkids thing. But she did some amazing things. So I had a lot of things like hats and purses and jewelry and things like that. Yeah. So when I was taking care of Jasmine and her little girlfriend, and we did something I called it On the Spot Productions. And I said, this is going to be the story. The story is going to be about two friends that go to Paris. So go in the box and dress yourselves up, and, you know, let's see what their adventure is. So they gave themselves names. And they would tell the story. They would have their own dialogue, and they'd go from one place to another. And occasionally I'd pop in and ask them something, a question, and they'd take off and do that. And then I found in talking with Victoria that Victoria also kind of did that with her girls. Like one person would start a part of the story, and then the next person would pick it up and go from there. So as we were thinking about what kind of interesting things can we come up with for Authors Up, we got into what we called My Time Story Time. And it was an interesting process, to say the least. We're all grinning because it wasn't exactly what we thought it was going to be, but it was a wonderful, wonderful process. And we came out with three really good stories that also lent themselves to opening the possibility of going deeper. You know how you go to the movies and you look at something, and when it gets to the end, you say, okay, there's going to be more to this, because that character can go over here and that character can go over there. And, you know, not to have a spoiler alert, but I went to see Jurassic Park. They have no value, but I just love them. I don't like to go to the movies for deep stuff all the time.
Jurassic. You know what? I like Jurassic Park too, so it's okay.
I loved it. But at the end, there was this one little mutant animal that ended up in the child's backpack, and I kept thinking, okay, there's going to be another one, because we got
Where's the mama?
Yep.
So in our process, the first one we did was the reunion. And the reunion was basically the three of us writing to characters that were developed by our audience. So we gave them a character profile, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Some of the things that were asked to in order to create the character. And then we set out to tell the story. We came up with what our story was going to be about and our characters, and then we had some secondary characters that we had to add, but it lent itself to, we ended it well, but we knew that there could be more. There could be more to the story. So
well, there's more in that story.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And then we had Mama's House, and again we tapped into the creativity of our audience to get our character profiles, and we developed a story around a woman who had a home. She had opened up her home to help young ladies get on their feet, and she was going to have to close the home down. And again, we had some challenges and relationship issues and all of that good stuff. And the last one was a work that was actually submitted by one of our listeners, and it was called Flight 325, and we added to Flight 325, and it was just a wonderful way of stretching ourselves and stretching
I agree.
those who were a part of our listening audience, to say, you can do this. It was I think it was encouraging for them. It was interesting to see what they came up in their character profiles and the things that they put together. So that's kind of the beginning, the middle, and the end.
That's okay.
of my time, story time. And then from that, we went into some dramatic presentations. We had a work by Aisha Stocks that we did. And we had the train, which we did. And those are always fun to do also. But it's something about coming together, 3 parts coming as one. Right. And that's what happens when you've got the collaborative side, that all of us there's no single entity. Somehow you have to take these 3 ideas and these 3 main characters and bring them together to create one believable story. And we did that. We were able to do that, and it was fun to do. But Victoria's going to tell you a little bit more about how we actually developed the story behind these 3 entities that we put together.
Well, I'm going to rely on you guys because somehow my brain is not remembering all, but I do remember how how did we decide the story that we wanted to tell? Who was going to be our main character, and what would the conflict be in the story? And in my remembrance, it's not something that we just say, like when we talked about doing the story. I don't remember it being like, okay, we just came up with that. What it was sort of as we went along, and I know we decided about developing an outline. I know we decided on a timetable. And I remember us coming together. Well, how are we really going to do this? How are we going to do this? Especially, I think about the reunion. We took a character. We each took a character, and we wrote a introductory sort of paragraph for each of the characters that we were assigned. And in that introductory paragraph, it sort of gave you a little bit of background on the person before we got to the reunion. And I thought that was really unique about that story. It was, and then when we got together, we were like, well, how are we going to do this? So I think Ruth volunteered to write, to be our scribe, and she typed as we went along. And so one person would say something, another person would say something. Then if we had something we didn't like, no, well, I don't, no, let's back that out. and so I remember, like at times, okay, I know I wanted it to go one way. For instance, I know in the reunion, I wanted somebody to slap somebody. We wanted somebody to slap somebody.
No, we didn't. We didn't want.
Right.
You.
I want a little violence, but
Romance and violence.
right. I wanted a kiss. That's right. I wanted somebody to kiss somebody, and somebody to slap somebody. I think I wanted a kiss part, but I think that's the beauty of collaborative writing. Is it's not always going to be your way in the story. It's about what works for the story. You got to put self kind of out of it. Like, I know how I would write it if I was writing it by myself, but I'm not writing it by myself. And then you guys would bring up some points that were better than my point, and vice versa. So that it was, like I said, I don't remember how we came up with deciding the story we wanted to tell. How do you guys remember? Let's take the reunion. Do you remember how we came up with the parts? Who was going to do what part? The voices. Do you remember that?
Oh, in the beginning, character assignment, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Ruth, I think you were getting ready to answer that.
I think what we did was we put out the character profiles first, and we had our viewers fill those out first. So we had characters.
Yes. Okay.
First.
Okay.
And then we looked at different scenarios that we could plug those characters in. So it's not like they were vastly different, but when you're looking at certain characters, like the characters that we had for the reunion, it just I think out of all the ideas we may have had, the reunion part was what made sense, so that we could number one, create a conflict, number two, create a scenario for them to be in and for them to interact with each other.
Right. So I don't think it was just one person. I don't remember who said, well, let's have them go to a reunion and let's have them do. I think we don't know, we all was throwing out ideas and it just came together. And that's the beauty of this story. And I'm not remembering. Did we read it? Did we read the story on the air?
Yeah,
we did. Yeah, it was just beautiful. Knowing the end from the beginning, knowing the beginning and the end. Did we know where we wanted the story to go? Did we know the end first, or do you think we came up with that as we were going along?
Oh no, we knew the end.
Yeah.
If I had any part in it, yes, we knew the
end.
Yes. So that is
nobody else knew the end. Ruth.
No, and I think that was and I'm not going to take sole credit for this, but I do remember that because we weren't just we asked our viewers to bring the characters to the table, but then it was on us to bring the story, which meant that each one of us was bringing our expertise or whatever we were bringing to the table. So it wasn't just, okay, we're going to sort all this through. We did sort it through, but it was okay. Yeah, no, we knew what we were talking about. We knew what, once we decided what the story was, it was at that point. Yeah, we knew where we were going with it. We sat down and developed all that so that we understood what the beginning, what the middle, and the end was. Yeah, so we had a destination that we were moving towards.
And I remember Ruth was very vocal about us having an outline. She definitely guided us in that sense that we had to have a timeline. And I remember us in all the stories, we would schedule time to write. We I think we did maybe 1 or 2 hours we set aside, and we would meet together and we would talk, and we would talk through it, and it's just, I know there was some times when we wrote that it just was flowing. It just flowed and the story just came out. One person would say this part, the other person would say this. Yeah, that sounds good. But what if we say this? And it just it was like magic sometimes. But then and there were times though in developing these stories that we, maybe hit a little snag. But I don't think that in my remembrance, it was not ever a point where we got to where I just don't like that. I don't like that. Or and the other two would be like, well, we do. Or it was never that. It was always, it just seems like we were really a cohesive voice in these stories. I don't know. How did y'all feel about that?
Well, for me, I thought that the story came first.
Right.
I think that we managed to stay on task in terms of saying, okay, what it doesn't make sense for that character to say that way, or it
Right.
doesn't make sense for that person to be in that space, or and I think that comes from understanding the character. And that's why I think the character profiles, I think, were really important in terms of keeping us on track.
Right.
I know when I had a theater company, one of the things that we did a lot of improv. We did a lot of improv, and one of the things that we talked about early on, which was helpful in this, was building the character.
Yes.
Building the character from the inside out, giving that character life.
Right.
And for that, you needed to know what their backstory was. Were they married? Were they single? Did they have children? Was there a divorce? Was there an illness? Was they, are they the romantic type? Are they mean? Are they narcissistic? Are they, whatever it was that character was, I think really, really helped us flow with the dialogue when we did begin to write. Because it was easy to say, okay, I don't think he's going to say that right there. He wouldn't be feeling that. At that time. So I think that helped to make the dialogue flow. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about the character.
Can I jump in real quick though?
Sure.
So in talk, going back to the point, Victoria, that you made, Andrea, I think, it is, I do believe that we kept the story first, each one of us. And I think, when we're talking about collaborative writing, that is an important point to make. It wasn't just that, okay, we work well together, because we do not always agree on everything,
Right.
But because we were able, because we were able to keep the story first, and we had already, from the time that we started, we were already determined that, we're going to listen to each other.
Exactly.
And, it's just, there's a certain level of kindness, but there's also a certain level of, hey, I'm going to respect the fact, hey, we are all authors here. We're friends, but we're also, this is our business, this is our craft. So I'm going to listen to you, you're going to listen to me. And that's the collaborative part of it.
Right.
It is, I think that is important when you sit down to work with other authors, because let's face it, we got 3 writing styles here. We have 3 writing voices. We have 3 writing different processes. So for all of us to come together and actually produce something is partly a miracle in itself, but it was also intentional.
Yes.
It wasn't that
this
just happened.
Right.
We were intentional about that.
I agree. And I don't remember us. We didn't even have to set any ground rules. It was just already understood that we had that mutual respect, and that we all were respecting what each of us could bring to the table. So it was a good process. So I think that's a good segue into the next part. Who's in the story and that character profile?
Okay, before I tell you what some of the questions were in the character profile, the point that you made, Ruth, is a very important one, not just from the collaborative writing process, but from the show process, period.
Mm-hmm.
That we do have differences of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We each of us brings something very different. Victoria is more the social media, put it out there person. Ruth Ruth is going to keep us on track and on task, and she's the one that interacts most of the time with our guests that want to come on the show. I'm more on the content development side, so we're never really stepping over each other. At least I don't think that we are. But I also believe that it is important to note, as much fun as we have and as smooth as it looks all the time, there's work that goes on behind the scenes with this, to bring us to these places of agreement. And I remember one time in particular, that we didn't agree, and what we agreed to do was pray.
Amen.
We agreed to pray about it, and God answered that prayer. We all got the same answer, but in a very different way. And he spoke to us individually, but it was the same resolve. And I will never forget that. And I wanted to bring that out because
Right.
I don't care what you're doing, whether it is writing, whether it's publishing, whether it is pulling something together. If you keep him at the center,
Amen.
he
Amen.
he will guide that process. He will guide whatever it is that you're trying to write or trying to do or trying to accomplish. And I am grateful that we pray before every show.
Yeah, we do.
It's the last thing we do before Ruth hits that button and we go into intro mode. Is we invite him into the broadcast. We invite him to be with us and to guide us through. And this was no different. We talked to him about it. He said, show us what to do here, because we had never ventured into doing this together before we did My Time Story Time. So let me talk to you a little bit about the character profile and what I always taught. I always taught build your character from the inside out. Give them a life. Give them a life so that if anything happens, because this was during my days of live theater where anything could happen. Many things did happen, particularly when it came to dialogue. Sometimes you just draw a blank. Sometimes you forget. And we had one instance where we dropped 4 pages of dialogue. 4 whole pages. When you get to that point,
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And we think, okay, the next words were for this character, but the character entered the scene in one of those 4 pages that we didn't talk about. So what do you do? When you have built a character, you can respond in character. And that's why improv was always so important, because you never knew which way it was going to go. When you're writing, like we were writing collaboratively, then when the dialogue goes a certain way and it's your time to respond, or it is your time to decide who will respond. You do it a lot easier if you know that, okay, Victoria is the single mom, but she's also a CEO. She also has her own company. So she's not going to be as concerned about farming issues as
Right.
as Ruth might be, who grew up on the farm, and that's all she's ever known, and that's what she's pulling in. How
Yeah.
care the people in the community and these kinds of things. So these were some of the questions that we asked. Of course, we gave a character a name, gave them a nickname if we wanted them to have one, described them physically. What do they look like? Are they tall? Are they short? Are they fat? Are they skinny? Or do they have dimples? Do they smile a lot? What do they look like? What kind of childhood did they have? Where did they grow up? City kids see things differently than folks who ran
Country kids.
outside and played till the streetlights came on. What were their goals in life? What did they want to do when they were growing up? What were some of their fears? What were they afraid of? Because that's going to affect response. All of these things have a real high impact on how you're going to respond to life, to the things of life. Are they athletic? Do they drink? Do they smoke? Do they have money issues? How do they handle stress? What's their mental state? Are they married? Are they happy? That's not on here, but it's just something.
That's a good question.
Headed for divorce court? What's going on?
Right.
What are their spiritual views and what are their spiritual values? Do they have any children? If so, how old are the children? Do they want children? What conflicts are they facing? How did they get to the point where they are? Lots and lots and lots of questions. I think on here it's about 23 questions that the people who agreed to write a character profile, about 23 questions that they had to answer. So when we got those back and we had the opportunity to study them, there were just certain things in the story that made sense, and there were certain things that did not, just based on the character profile and how we were going to see these characters that we had been studying and looking at and developing in this time. And that takes, once we had those characters pretty much nailed down. And the other thing was we had the primary characters, but somewhere in the story is weaved together by those secondary characters. How do we get this point across from point A to point B? Because they can't talk to each other through this. So who bring into the picture? Who enters that scene to make it so that it all flows and that it all makes sense? So I'm gonna go from here to Ruth, because this was part of my greatest struggle. Who's talking?
Who's whom and who?
Listen, are we in first person, third person? Where are we?
And what is first person, second person, and third person?
I'm like, what? Am I talking? Am I saying this part? Talk to us about that, Ruth.
And Victoria already alluded to this because, once you have your characters, once you have the setting, all of this is just part of the writing process. So you want that outline. You want that roadmap so that you know where you're going. Right. And the thing is, most of the time, and I think you guys saw this when we started writing, the characters will write themselves.
Yes.
They know their story. And sometimes they will fight you if you try to force it a certain way, because it will sound forced. So, like I said earlier, we determined what the beginning, what the middle, what the end was. We knew the destination by writing the end, by understanding where they were going. We knew the destination. So it was just a matter of filling in between, understanding, hey, this is how we're going to start. And we determined that we were going to start a certain way. Yes, all our characters, say with the reunion, they were going to a reunion. So we understood, but we wanted to introduce the characters. characters. Beyond that, we started understanding, okay, what was the conflict? So we had to weave the conflict in. And I think that became more prevalent when we did Mama's House. I think that we struggled with that one in a different way than we did Reunion, because we had our process down. But it was, okay, how are we going to, allow the characters to tell the story? So we had to determine, okay, are they going to talk now? Are they going to, what are they going to say? What, I think the biggest conflict was, Mama. Mama was the one pushing back on everybody in Mama's house. She was not forthright because she was a proud woman. So she was going to handle it, but she couldn't handle it. And it wasn't, the characters saw that. So how did they respond? And I think that once, it's one thing when you're writing a story yourself, but when you have, other writers, they can sometimes see what you can't. So, one of us would be able to say, okay, is that in character for her? And if it's not, let's rewrite it. Let's look at it again. We talk about, Andrea, you mentioned, what was the tense of the story, and that's something some writers do struggle with, because, okay, do we say in the present tense? Do we say in the third tense? Do we say in the first present tense, or do we speak in the past tense? And you know what? You write in what you're comfortable in. If
so
it's
there is no second tense then, huh? I'm sorry.
Write in what you're comfortable in. So I mean, and all of that, you do want to set those rules up ahead of time so that you know how you're going to write and how, and again, all of this, once you get all of that lined up, all of that planned, it's just easy to flow into it, and you let your characters do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I think with Mama's House too, there was more relationship and character interaction than there was, in Mama's House. In the Reunion, we knew the characters, we knew what the conflict was, what the centering of was that, but there wasn't as much interaction with our three main characters in that story as there was in Mama's House. Like you said, Mama was the central character of it, but the other characters had their unique relationships with one another, as well as their unique relationship with Mama. So it was each one was different, and each one brought something different for us, for us to do and for us to manage and be a part of. What were the most fun moments? And what were the most challenging? Because we're at 7:48. We got about
my goodness.
we have about 2 minutes to talk about that. Most fun and most challenging.
I think the most rewarding or most fun for me was having a completed work.
Yes. I was going to say the same thing.
Having the completed work. Because I mean, that's your baby, regardless, the time you put into it, that's your baby. So the most definitely challenging part was that I wanted to take control of the work.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been writing now for a lot of years, and I see the story in my head. And even now, look, I'm not gonna lie, there are books that I read and I go, well, I would have wrote it this way. And I'm like,
I think we all do that.
Right.
I think we all do that to some degree.
Yeah, I think so too.
No, so for me, because this was not just me doing it, that became a challenge to me. And I had to go, okay, stop. It's not just me. I put in my piece and then we work it together. So,
yeah.
And I think that's the good news about the issue of respect, that that Victoria brought out, when we would get into those moments, because there were moments for me too. Where I thought, I don't want, no, we're not slapping him right there. But I think all of us, at some point, during that process, were in that space.
I agree.
And, I really wanted to go this way, but as we respected each other and as we were able to give off script our point of view, when somebody said, well, why would he react that way? When you could justify that reaction,
yes,
and you could really talk about why you thought that was the best road for them to take, or the best line for them to say, whatever, it just, it just all flowed and it all came together, and it just worked. It just worked.
I agree. I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. Super proud of the work that we did.
Yeah.
The stories, all the stories are just wonderful stories. Yes, I am a little biased, I might say. But we got to do something so the world can read these stories. We got to do something.
And we will. I'll tuck that away, but we will. Well, ladies, we have run out of time. We've run out of time. I hope that our listeners and viewers enjoyed tonight hearing about the writing process from this forum for authors by authors, and gain some information, but also just to be able to just kind of peer behind the curtain a little bit and see how some things come together and how they are all put together. So that is it for us for tonight.
So fast.
Welcoming you into the process. And I hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that you heard something that you may not have known before. And if you want to hear more about Authors Up, go to Authors Up at
gmail.com.
And something, you go to Authors Up Show for some other things. What are those things?
Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
There you go.
All
Facebook,
right.
Instagram, and YouTube. And we're also back here on Saturday evenings at 7 p.m. For a replay of our Sunday evening show. So if you know anybody who is interested in writing or interested in getting involved in an anthology, or if you're thinking about doing that yourself, this program may be of help to you. So we encourage you to not only listen again, but share it with a friend. And come on back next week. We always got something good for you. And we don't always know on this Sunday what next Sunday is going to bring. But we're going to be glad to be right back here. And we invite you to join us next week as well. So that is it for us for tonight. You never know what's going to happen when you join into Authors Up. So come on back. See us next week. We'll be right here Sunday evening at 7 p.m. That's it for me. Any closing remarks, ladies?
Oh, good night, Bronze girls. I love you.
Good night, darling. Good night, everybody. Have a great week.